Dear Denver Broncos fans, I know it's been a rough ride recently. We had a lot of high hopes going into this season with Sean Payton at the helm, leading and hopefully rehabilitating Russell Wilson to what we used to know Russell Wilson as from his great days of leading the Seattle Seahawks to a Super Bowl victory. And we really had high hopes in our offense really getting back in the groove of things and our defense showing out like usual. Unfortunately, as many of you know, especially from week 3, that has not been the case. The Denver Broncos are entering week 4 of the NFL 2023 season with 0-3 record and 70 total points scored on them in week 3. And it's rough. It's been a rough ride for us as Denver Broncos fans and really disheartening from the years that we've had since Super Bowl 50. And we have suffered from the mediocrity from Trevor Siemian in his days of getting us 9-7 to the not so mediocre times of Brock Osweiler and Paxton Lynch, some of the biggest busts in Super Bowl history and Super Bowl history, NFL history. To the forgettable times of Case Keenum and Joe Flacco leading the helm. To the new age of mediocrity of Tenny Two Gloves and Drew Lock leading us all the way from 5-11 to 7-10, all the great times in between. To now the hopeful of giving a bunch of picks for Russell Wilson and a big bag of money for him as well, for him and his wife to enjoy. And just hoping that something sticks, that finally we have something going. This season, last season, this was our season to come back and show people what we're made of, what the Denver Broncos can do. And not gonna lie, it's been a rough ride since the Super Bowl 50 days, and it continues to get rougher by the week, it seems. Getting our hopes up in the hopes that maybe this is our year, maybe this is the week we can show so we have something else, and ultimately fails. And while I can't promise that there are better days immediately ahead, we should remember really why we were Denver Broncos fans to begin with. I became a Denver Broncos fan through my dad, and watching him enjoy Denver Broncos and being able to spend that time with him and finding that emotional connection with him. And I'm sure many of you have your own reasons, whether it's because you lived in Denver or in the Colorado area, or maybe you just have that core memory with a family member, or maybe it's the first game you watched or the first stadium you went to, or maybe the logo in general and the color scheme just intrigued you enough to become a fan. All of us have an origin story of why we became the fans we are, and while it's rough being a fan right now, we have a great history behind us. In recent years, only 5 teams have clutched the Lombardi Trophy since Peyton Manning led us to the Super Bowl 50 win. And think about that. Super Bowl 50 is one of the biggest numbers that the Super Bowl will ever have in its history. Super Bowl 50, short of 100, will be the biggest and most memorable number in Super Bowl history. And yeah, sure, there's more memorable Super Bowls in general, but it's up there either way. And when people look back saying, what was the half a century mark for the Super Bowl, we're going to look back and say the Sheriff's last ride in Denver. And that's a great memory. I share that memory with my dad, and seeing that trip and seeing that road, it's been amazing. In recent years, only 5 teams have won the Lombardi, and other teams have been hopeful. And even though we haven't been in that race, we can say that we are in the top 6 of most recent teams to win a Super Bowl. That's more than a lot of teams can say. Heck, even winning a Lombardi Trophy is much more than a lot of teams can say. Even before that, though, we faced really hard times. If anybody remembers Super Bowl 48, when we got absolutely decimated by the Seattle Seahawks 43-8, that was a hard time. That was a really hard time for us as well. That was the hopeful, we finally made it. We finally made it back to the Super Bowl with Peyton Manning. There was this year, he's got it. And then it dropped. Only 2 years later, though, we ended up getting the spotlight that we so desperately needed and so desperately deserved. And if you remember correctly, in NFL history, we are tied with the second most Super Bowl appearances, with 8. We have appeared in the Super Bowl 8 times. And yes, the rough ride still continues, showing our 5 Super Bowl losses. But we made it there 8 times. Not to mention, we've won it 3 times. Not to mention that, our Super Bowl victories as well. We rank in the top 6 in Super Bowl total wins. And yes, we shared that number 3 spot, or that number 6 spot, quite a bit with other teams. But we still hold the 6th most Super Bowl wins out of 32 current NFL teams. That's an accomplishment, if I would say. And of course, recollecting on those memories, at least those are my recent memories, is just seeing our franchise history and seeing the history behind it. And of course, there's a lot more you could share, probably from the John Elway days and the Super Bowls from back then, and even further beyond before that, and just how we really got started as a franchise that you can share from your memories. This is the Denver Broncos. This is my memory of the Denver Broncos. And I hope that even though the times right now kind of suck, I'm a Denver Broncos fan and I'm proud of it. I'm truly proud to be a Denver Broncos fan. And I live in Tennessee. The Denver Broncos fans are all over the world. I see them everywhere. Whether it's because they lived in Denver, because of their family, or whatnot. We're everywhere. And even though we're kind of silent right now because of the silencing, desperate sadness that's going on, we're there. And we have the heart of an ox, the heart of a horse. And I truly am proud to say that I'm part of the greatest fan base in NFL history. And I will say that without a doubt in my mind. And I love the Denver Broncos. And that will not stop. No matter how bad we're losing, no matter how bad the score is, I'll scoff in the moment. I'll say, what the heck is this coaching staff? What the heck is the quarterback doing? What the heck is the coordinators? What are they doing? We don't have any weapons. What's our defense doing? I'm going to share that same phrases with every other Denver Broncos fan in the moment. But I'm also going to remember that the Denver Broncos is my home. They're the team I'm always going to root for. And I'm kind of collecting myself, looking back at some highlights and everything. I encourage you all to do the same. That right now, yeah, we're kind of in a rough spot. But the better days are going to be ahead. I can't say they're going to be in this year. I can't say they're going to be next year or the year after that. I can't promise we'll win a Super Bowl in the next decade. But I can assure you that we've been down rough roads before. And we're going to get the smoother times ahead. There's smoother waters ahead for the Denver Broncos. And I'm truly confident in saying that. And all we got to do is keep our head up as Broncos country and keep on keeping on. Thank you guys. Thank you, Denver Broncos, for everything you've ever done for me and all the memories you've made for me. Thank you.